Is everyone set? Yeah? That's a confident nod. Yeah? Excellent. Well, good afternoon. We're coming to you today live from Brisbane's iconic Bricky Creek Hotel. As you'll be aware, the Bricky Creek flooded in the recent flood events, and it's fantastic to see it back open and pumping again. But it will take us months, maybe even years, to get all of the homes and businesses that were flooded back up on their feet. We know there were 6,800 homes that have been assessed as damaged. 3,600 of those are now uninhabitable, and we need to repair them in what is an already incredibly tight labour market. Our residential recovery, our resilient residential recovery program alone is anticipated to require 2,300 workers. That's 2,300 jobs that will be created by that program, which, in addition to the 500 homes we will buy back, we'll see 5,500 homes retrofitted and 1,000 homes raised. We need the workers to do that work on top of our regular building program, the population boom that we are already experiencing, our record infrastructure spend, well more than $50 billion over the 4 years of the Ford estimates, and of course the Olympics infrastructure program that will come on top of all of those things. And today, we are launching a new campaign to attract tradies to Queensland. We're calling it Tradies in Paradise. Other states have been trying to poach our tradies, and we can't afford to lose them, and we have to beat those states at their own game. I'm sure that once a tradie who's stuck in traffic right now in Sydney, or a tradie who's about to go through the long Melbourne winter with their family hears about this program, they'll think, why don't we give it a go in Queensland? Why don't we see what it's like to do this in Paradise? And I'm sure that once they experience what it's like, they'll decide to stay here, and that's what we want. We will pay tradies $1,750, the first 1,000 tradies, to commit to come here and to work for at least 8 weeks, rebuilding communities affected by our recent devastating disasters. We want carpenters, electricians, plasterers, roofers, tilers, painters, cabinet makers, even planners, architects, surveyors and certifiers. So if you're watching right now and you know one of those people, a family or a friend currently living interstate, think about tagging them in the comments. Think about giving them a call and saying, come work in Paradise with us. Let them know about this program, because now is their chance to become a tradie in Paradise. We tried to get some tradies to be here as part of the press conference, but they're all too busy. So if you're a tradie in another state, come work here in Queensland. And when you knock off at the end of the day, you can enjoy a beer off the wood here at the iconic Bricky Creek Hotel. Now, it's possible this might be my last chance to do a COVID press conference at a hotel, although I'm sure I'll find a way. We're here today, though, to say goodbye to check-ins. That means no more QR codes, no more green ticks. Our pubs and clubs, our restaurants and cafes have done our state a great service. They've helped us to deliver one of the world's best vaccination rates. They, along with our health staff, deserve some of the credit for our fantastic COVID health response. And I'd like to thank them and all of their staff. I know it hasn't always been easy. I know it will come as a great relief. I know a lot of people will have enjoyed pulling down those posters and putting them in the bin this morning. This is an important milestone in our COVID pandemic response. Just for interest's sake, since we launched the QR check-in app in February 2021, we've had more than 1 billion check-ins. 1,066,781,622 check-ins, more than 6 million people, 6.13 million people have installed the check-in app. And I think this is one of those things that when we talk to our grandkids about how we experienced the great pandemic of 2020, we'll talk about how we had to check in with a QR code on our phones before we went to the pub. While I'm at it, I might as well give you today's COVID stats. We're reporting 8,754 new cases, 5,571 of those are from positive rat tests reported to Queensland Health. We now have 52,982 active cases, 9,337 people were PCR tested at our testing clinics. We have 518 COVID patients in public hospitals, including 14 in ICU. In addition to that, there are 72 in private hospitals, including 2 in ICU. Our vaccination coverage amongst those 16 and older is now 93.51% with one dose. 91.89% of Queenslanders are fully vaccinated. 62.5% of the eligible population have had their booster, and 942 school-aged children contracted COVID, tested positive for COVID in the last 24 hours. There are 12 children currently in hospital, 5 of them primary school age, 7 of them secondary school age. Now bear with me, we still have a bit to get through. Our world-class health response has created an incredible platform. Quite an incredible platform for economic recovery, and our economic recovery plan is working. Today in Queensland, the unemployment rate is 4%. That's the lowest unemployment in Queensland since December 2008, since before the worst of the global financial crisis hit. And if you look at jobs growth, compared to other states, jobs growth in Queensland is literally off the charts. We created 8,000 new jobs during March alone, completely wiping out the job losses in New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania. More jobs were created in Queensland than any other state or territory. There was an increase in full-time employment of 19,900, offsetting a decrease in part-time employment of 11,900. So we're creating more jobs and more full-time jobs. That was despite an ongoing increase in the participation rate. Jobs growth in Queensland is propping up the national unemployment rate. And so when the Prime Minister talks about the unemployment figures today, remember that it is thanks to Queensland that the national unemployment figures look so good. The national figures look so good thanks to jobs growth here in Queensland. I note that the Queensland Leader of the Opposition made sure he held his press conference before these figures were released. I note that he didn't mention jobs or unemployment at all. Maybe it's time another opposition leader was asked what the unemployment rate. He doesn't seem to like to talk about it. Now we have Di Farmer to provide more detail about Tradies in Paradise. We have representatives of our iconic Queensland insurers, Suncorp and RACQ. They've worked with us really closely on this program to attract more tradies to help us rebuild the southeast after the floods. And then Bernie Hogan from the Queensland Hoteliers Association will talk about what it means to our pubs and hospitality industry to be able to say goodbye to those QR codes.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm so excited today that we are launching the Tradies in Paradise initiative. We know that we have many thousands of Queenslanders whose businesses or homes have been deeply impacted by the floods, and we were already facing a labour force challenge. Now, after the floods, we need more tradies than ever to come and help those people get back on their feet. So we are talking straight to the tradies in every other state of Australia except for New South Wales, because we know that New South Wales itself has also been very badly affected, and they certainly need those tradies too. But as of right now, if you are a tradie in one of those other states, you can go straight to our website just by Googling Tradies in Paradise. You can register your interest. We will very quickly make it easy for you to have all of your licensing requirements and any of the other checks that are necessary to operate in Queensland. We will just move you through that really quickly. We can get you up here after you can prove that you have done at least 20 hours a week for 8 weeks in an LGA that has been disaster declared, and there are 19 of those. If you can prove after 8 weeks, then you can get up to $750, which is a great incentive. But of course, the best incentive is the chance to work in Queensland. And if you're a carpenter pulling on your winter woolies this morning in Melbourne or Adelaide and just thinking how cold and bitter it is, just have a look at the sunshine here and then think about what it would be like to come up to Queensland and have this weather pretty much all year round, but certainly for the next 8 weeks while they're all suffering in winter in the southern states. This is the best place to be. But we're saying to people, if you come up for the 8 weeks, think about staying as well. And then you can work on the Sunshine Coast or the Gold Coast or the Fraser Coast or the Capricorn Coast or the Whitsundays or Cairns or Longreach, everywhere in Queensland. We have so much happening. Our economy is booming. There's not a place you could go in Queensland that isn't absolutely fantastic. And of course, we've got the Olympics, so a chance to work on that sort of infrastructure pipeline. We will have campaigns running out aggressively in all of those states. You're going to see it on the backs of buses. If you live in Melbourne or anywhere in Victoria, Western Australia, South Australia, any other state, you are going to see it everywhere, that chance to come to Queensland. So please come up here. We'd love to have you, and we'll do everything we can to make sure you just love it here and never want to go home. I want to just hand over to our reps from RACQ and Suncorp now. As the Deputy Premier said, we have been working really closely with the insurance companies to make this work, and I know that they're going to work really closely with anyone who comes up here to make sure they're directed to the areas where they're needed the most. So thanks.
Thank you, Minister and Acting Premier. I'm Ali Smith and I look after the home claims team at Suncorp. And as Queensland's largest insurer, we welcome any initiative that will bring tradies to Queensland and help those impacted by these devastating floods get back into their homes. This will be a major rebuilding effort across many communities, and it will take some time, many months. So the Tradies in Paradise incentive scheme is an excellent initiative by the Queensland Government, which we fully support. I'd also like to acknowledge the Government's Resilient Residential Recovery Package that will provide Queenslanders whose homes have been impacted by these floods with a range of options to help them be more protected should another flood occur. This program should be a template for other states and territories to take action. It's a very positive step to build resilience into homes in Queensland. We must all keep working together to protect our homes from extreme weather. And for Suncorp, the scale of these floods is enormous. It is much bigger than the floods of 2011. We've already lodged 45,000 claims. 20,000 of those are for homes here in Queensland. And at the end of every claim number is a customer and a family and a home that's been impacted by the floods. And our job is to get our customers back in their homes as soon as possible. We know that some customers are still waiting for repairs to start on their homes, and that's why this initiative is so important and will help us recover faster and get people back in their homes sooner. My team at Suncorp see all too many times the impact of these events on communities and on families, and we're doing everything we can to support our customers get back to their homes and recover from these devastating floods. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks everyone. RACQ is acutely aware of the shortage that we're experiencing with our tradespeople. We are doing everything we can. We've brought in an extra 150 people in our claims team. We are working really very hard. We've got 15,000 claims on this event. It cannot be understated. This is probably one of the biggest events we have seen, and we will work very, very hard to keep especially those who are living in temporary accommodation right now and our vulnerable members. And I want to thank them for their patience as we work through this. There's a long road ahead, but I really do, and I am encouraged by this initiative. I am hoping that as we move into some cooler weather, that we'll start to encourage people to come to this beautiful state. We need that extra capacity, and if we can get that capacity in, I'm sure that will really make a very big difference. So the other thing I just wanted to mention is that our RACQ Foundation has just closed its special rounds of funding, and we are seeing a significant amount of support that people are asking for, and we look forward to announcing that in the coming weeks, and we expect to see a significant amount of money going to organizations, sporting clubs who just don't have insurance. So we are all hands on deck. We will continue to be there for our members. Thank you for their patience. We are continuing to work through this. Thanks again.
Today, right across Queensland, I think there's a sense of relief in the hospitality industry as the last of the restrictions that was really holding people back from actually enjoying the wonderful hospitality in Queensland has been removed as of 1 o'clock this morning. Most importantly, that's allowed two things to happen. One is that we can now employ anybody in the hospitality industry, which is vitally important at the moment. There, just as there are in the construction trades in hospitality, there's a need for more workers in Queensland. And then, and secondly, it's removed that argument, that one last impediment that was stopping people at the front door of every pub, club, restaurant, cafe in Queensland. And hopefully we can have those staff members back doing what they do best, behind the bars, serving people and making sure that all the tourists and the Queenslanders alike enjoy what wonderful weather we do have here and all the good times that we're sure will join us in the rest of the 2022.
There's been a skill shortage across the state for some time now. Why does the Senate focus on the South Coast?
What we particularly need right now is tradies to help us rebuild those homes and businesses and infrastructure that were affected by the floods. And so we want to see a surge of new tradies into those areas. Of course, that will relieve pressure right across the state, because otherwise we'd be drawing those tradies from other parts of the state. So this will have a statewide benefit, but has a real focus on those areas affected by recent natural disasters. Yeah, we do have a tight housing market, and we have a range of initiatives underway to unlock new housing. We'll be able to work with people coming here with their employers to identify accommodation options for them. As we've been very open about, there is currently a huge surge of demand on our hospitals, including driven by those more than 500 inpatient COVID patients. COVID patients in hospitals have a disproportionate impact on the operation of the hospital. We have thousands of staff who are currently off work, can't work either because they have COVID or they're a household contact, and that's having an impact too. I think the Health Minister outlined how we had a record day of triple O calls just recently. The protocols for when police are to transport mental health patients in particular to hospital, they've been in place for some time. They were put in place in 2014 under the previous government. The protocols themselves haven't changed. What we've done since then, though, is to introduce a whole wide range of supports to police and AMBOs in the field when they are dealing with mental health patients. These are some of the most difficult cases to deal with for our police and paramedics. It's not like catching a criminal or treating someone with a broken leg. It can be very, very complex. And so what we've put in place is we have mental health co-responders who operate both with our police and with our ambulance officers. These are mental health nurses who are in the field with our frontline AMBOs and police, able to provide assessments and treatment in the field to reduce the number of people who need to be transported either into custody or into hospital. We also have now in the ambulance call centre dedicated mental health nurses who in many cases know the circumstances of these individuals and are able to provide advice over the phone to police and AMBOs about how to de-escalate situations. I've sat there and watched them. They do an incredible job. They can, for example, know an individual patient needs to talk to their mum and provide their mum's mobile number to the police or AMBO in the field. So there's a lot that we are doing to provide additional mental health support in the field. As I say, the increased incidence of mental illness in our community is very difficult, and it is putting pressure on our police and ambulance services, and we'll continue to do what we can to support them. They do a great job of supporting Queenslanders. We've not disputed that the system is currently under extraordinary pressure for a range of matters, a range of reasons that I've outlined, and we will continue to put measures in place to address that. There's long been protocols for when police are required to accompany mental health patients until they are in appropriate care at hospital, and those protocols have been in place for a long time. We've continued to put additional supports in place to try to reduce the number of times that needs to occur. Well, when we have record days of O calls, while many of our paramedics are unable to work because they've either got COVID or are household members with COVID, that is putting strain on our response systems. There's no questioning that. What I know, though, from my own experience, is just how professional and dedicated our paramedics are, what a fantastic job that they do, how good they are at prioritising cases to ensure that they save as many lives and deliver as much care as they possibly can. Well, I certainly hope that we never see that again in our lifetimes, but I've given up predicting this thing a long time ago. So, who knows what the future holds? But I think this is the end of check-ins and QR codes. But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Yeah. Well, look, every individual initiative reduces the rate of transmission, and it's not unreasonable for us to have a higher standard for people who work in our employ than we expect of private citizens attending private businesses. And so I think it's reasonable that we lift those requirements on private citizens attending private businesses before we lift the requirement on those who work for us, because those requirements continue to have an effect on the rate of transmission, number of cases, and therefore the number of people ending up in hospital. We're trying everything we can. We opened all of those vaccination clinics at schools. We've got all of that communication going out. We continue to urge parents, please go and get your kids vaccinated. There are 12 school-aged children in hospital today with COVID. And you don't want your kid to be one of those, so go and get them vaccinated. Oh, look, I don't often find myself agreeing with the Greens leader, but on this one I do. Politics and press conferences shouldn't be a trivia quiz. You should be trying to see what our leaders stand for, what they will do, not whether you can catch them out on a number that they remember. And I'd just point out again, though, that if you want a chance to ask an opposition leader what the unemployment rate is, you should ask David Crisafulli what the Queensland unemployment rate is. Look, I'll leave the commentary to the commentators, but I know that when the election day comes, Queenslanders will remember when Scott Morrison completely forgot Queenslanders right when we needed him the most. They won't be concerned about whether Anthony Albanese forgot a number.
What do you think he needs to do to win those crucial points?
Oh, look, we'll see Albo here a lot. I know he's a friend of Queensland and he's a friend of infrastructure in Queensland, and I think we'll hear a lot about that over the coming weeks. None for anyone else? There's all these other guys here. You don't, no. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Now, surely you want to overlap me having a beer, right?